You're listening to Spark TV, where we bring you daily interviews with real women in business at all stages. I'm your host, Danielle Lewis, and I am so grateful to have you here. So good. Lisa, welcome to Spark TV.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here and so excited to talk all things business because I can already tell we're going to have a good conversation because we had to actually cut ourselves and start recording.
Really good.
So let's get straight into it.
Yeah.
Let's tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Lisa Thompson. I am the founder of Harmonie Health. And Harmonie Health is a assistive technology company that builds solutions to help people in their own homes.
I love that so much. So how did you even get into this?
Wow, yes, it's a story and it's a journey. So pretty much it's actually it's a very, very deeply personal reason why I started Harmonie Health. And it was actually because as a family, we were supporting my two parents who live separately and
Mm,
alone through cancer diagnosis and
wow.
falls and increased health needs and trying to do interstate distance and trying to navigate funded services. There was just huge gaps for me. And then,
Mm,
so after a career, like my career is in health technology and bringing products to market across, pharmacy and aged care and hospitals, I recognised that there's actually nothing for families, and families are the ones that are coordinating care in their homes
mm.
while they wait for these funded services. So I backed myself and started Harmonie Health and built the solution that we needed at the start of our journey as a family and what other families need.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And I always love a good, built the thing that I needed story because
Yeah.
it's usually, if we're struggling with it, there is somebody
Yeah.
else out there, if not
Mm.
hundreds, thousands, millions of people also struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
So, what type of person would come to you? Like, who is your ideal customer?
Yeah, so ideally, so we have built a home health hub that's, is really geared towards supporting older Australians, people with a chronic illness or a disability that need support in the home to manage all their daily routines and medication management and care information on spot. But as a buyer, it's people like you and me. It's the children of these, people. It's the care trying to find these tools to be able to support their loved one to stay
Mm.
in their home. Yeah, so you're kind of actually talking to a few people, and then obviously there is, funding available through aged care and NDIS. So there's providers as well that we speak to.
Yeah, wow. How do you find that as a business owner speaking to multiple customers? Because this is, not unique. I often find that companies do. You'll have sort of, the end consumer, maybe the person that purchases it, the industry. Like, how do you go managing all of those conversations and making sure there's content for everybody?
Complex. It's so
Yeah.
complex. I don't know if I've mastered it yet. But look, I think it's really just aligning it to your product strategy and where you're at with the product. So we start,
Mm,
messaging families and individuals that need that help, and then make them absolutely love our product, need our product. And then they'll talk to their providers, like their occupational therapists and their home care providers, which can open up doors while we're being at conferences and messaging them
mm.
separately. So it's kind of a very hybrid model that we're doing, but it is complex in the messaging. It's very
Yeah.
layered.
Yeah, I found that with my, not so much now, but with my previous business, which was in influencer marketing, you had to sort of talk to the influencers and the brands. And I never
Yes.
knew who I was talking to, because you kind of had to talk to both people at once. And
You
yeah, it just
do.
really became complex.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think where it landed really is, especially with social media as well, which, is not my background. Um, it's a whole other world, but it's really talking about the problems that you're solving. I think
Mm,
that's emotional benefit that it's bringing people and families to have this support in their home.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
love
kind of
that.
where we're
Like, come back to that why.
absolutely. It's your North Star really in all of your business. So it's it's emotional storytelling. It really resonates.
Oh, I love that. And you mentioned that, previously you had worked in health tech
Yeah.
and delivered products, brought things to life. What was it like going from that, doing it for other people, to then launching your own tech startup essentially?
My goodness. It is exhilarating, scary, exciting, all of the words all at once. Um, but but look, it gives you a new lens. So I think one of the learnings for me is like I spent 20 years bringing products to market for pharmacy groups and pharmacies,
Mm,
but building medication management into my own product for my own startup and then using like my parents using it, I think it taught me more than that 20 years. It taught
wow.
me that, if you don't build something right, this has real impact on people and
Mm.
it's on, not just safety, but it's mental health, it's all the things. So yeah, there's a lot of insights and learnings that you get that you don't get well, I didn't get in corporate. And just as a skill set thing as well, you can do different jobs that you'd never be able to do before.
Do you think that you get those insights because you're so much closer to the end consumer when it's your own business?
I think so, yes. I definitely think so. And I think that that's a good thing as well. Like ultimately you're close to the people that you are helping and that you're
Yeah.
building the product for. And they're the people that are going to be your advocates and they're going to tell other people about your products. So I think it's a strength.
Absolutely. I think it was actually where I made my biggest mistake was not talking to the end consumer, just
Yeah.
thinking that we knew everything and we had the most creative and brilliant ideas. I don't think it was until we actually learned that talking to people, because I think I always wanted things to be perfect first
Yeah.
and working and iron out all the kinks before kind of really engaging with people. And I always felt like everything just had to be polished and professional and gorgeous. But I actually think people love being a part of the journey.
Right. And you say that and don't get me wrong, I did that exact same thing at the start. Like it has to be perfect, it has to look brilliant and be brilliant and all this functionality before we release it to customer number one and chat to them. And yeah, it's kind of me, isn't it, to realize that you need to actually start talking to them and almost feeling their pain. It's
Yeah.
it allows you to be a better founder, I think, and build a better business.
Totally. And I think people are far more accommodating than you think,
Yes.
and especially in industries like this where like you will be helping people, right? Like this is really
Mhm.
going to change lives. It is changing lives. So people
Yeah.
want that to exist. They want that to be out in the world. So I find people are actually a lot more willing to support you and give their thoughts and feedback than you actually think.
So yeah, that's actually quite a learning that I've had with social media as well. It's just you can really build your tribe on
Yeah.
platforms like Instagram and TikTok and people do really want to be part of the journey and know the ups and the downs and um, have an emotional interest.
I love that. So are you a TikTok star now?
I've done my two videos now, and I'm a mum of two boys, and they're 10 and 12, and it's the most embarrassing thing in the world to them too. And I'm out there and going to keep going. So yeah, but Instagram and Facebook obviously is a bit more um,
Yes.
more of a presence.
Oh my God, I love that. So, how do you find wearing all the hats? It's one of the things that we talked about just before we hit
Mm,
record was that as a business owner, yeah, you've got to be a bloody TikTok star, you've got to be a tech founder, you've got to be talking to
yeah.
customers. What's that like for you juggling everything?
Look, it is tough. I think there's no other way about it, and you're working long hours to try and do that everything. But it really makes you be very, very structured in what you do and be very conscious of what outcome will this get me to do it.
Mm.
I mean, sometimes it's fun just to, fluff around with your website and, make things look pretty, which I love to do. But it's, yeah, you've got to really guard your time and make sure there's tangible outcomes. And also you've got to be really ruthless on making sure that there's time for yourself to get 8 hours of sleep and to remember to eat and to be mum and to just take a breath, because that can go by the wayside in a second.
It's so true. And I think we underestimate how important looking after our own health and well-being actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of learned that it's like you are your own biggest resource, really, and your own biggest asset in your own business. So if you're not functioning at, 100%, it can let everything down. So
Do you
so it's
have any
better for yourself.
strategies for making that happen?
I'll let you know when I get
Yeah.
there.
I know I preach, but I don't always make it happen.
It's Don't get me wrong, I'm a work in progress. I say these things, I'm telling myself at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think it's just, like taking it day by day, and every day is different. And starting the next day from scratch.
I love that so much. I have that little voice in my head, the overachiever that's like, I will go for a walk every day and I will do this and I'll do that. But I have over time realized that it's like, oh, I have an hour window here. I'm just going to go right now. I'm just going to drop everything and go for a wander, get a coffee and walk in the park because now is the time and that will help me. And, it's not the structured to-do list kind of achievement ticking off a box, but I
Yeah,
get it done, and that is
yeah,
okay.
that is. And then you probably find that you come back from that walk and you've recharged your batteries, and then you're focused and you're in the zone, and yeah, you're more productive than you were before.
It's so true. I really that was another big lesson that I learned, that running yourself into the ground actually, I think
Mm.
actually it works to a point. I think in your
Mm.
20s you can really like burn yourself out, but I found when
Yes.
I hit 40 that suddenly
Mm.
wasn't a thing anymore.
No, it isn't. Like you feel like you could sleep 1,000 years, and you're very conscious of burnout. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've ever been as conscious of it previously. So,
No. Well,
mm,
and it's the same. I was talking to my husband about this on the weekend because he's just started a new job at a new level, and is doing a lot more travel and all this kind of stuff. And he was, feeling a bit under the weather, and was saying,
mm,
I haven't changed anything. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. All of your environmental factors have changed and you have changed nothing. You're still living like a 20-year-old that you think you are.
yeah,
And I just think over time we might need to be a little
yeah.
kinder to ourselves.
I think you're right. Just like pick up on the signals that your body's giving you.
Yeah.
And if you're exhausted, if you're aching and the only exercise you've done is sit at your desk and type, then it's time to have that rest, or, go out for that walk in the sunshine.
Yeah, and I think it can also be tiny. I also used to be
Mm,
of the thought that unless it was like, an hour workout and I was
yeah.
sweating and crazy by the end of it, that it didn't count.
Yeah.
But I think there's just so much value in like lying on your bed and closing your eyes for 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Taking a breath.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's just those little, mental breaks, isn't it, really? So then
Yeah.
you can just have a rest and like I said, recharge.
So good. I love it. So, what do you think has been the biggest challenge for you building this business?
Goodness. So there's been a few challenges. So I think, the core ones is that, in health technology is capital intensive.
Mm.
And, you're a female founder. The stats aren't really geared towards
They're
founders.
not in our favor, are they?
They're not in our favour. No, there's no kind of polite way to say that. So capital intensive, but it's also, getting the right people into your organisation as
Mm.
well. And I think having my own business, I've realised, and a small business as well, I realized the importance of you get one person that they can completely change your culture,
Yeah.
unfortunately can be for the negative. So
Mm.
having the right people, you absolutely fly. You are so productive and it's so energizing in meetings. And yeah, I think that's kind of been a really big learning.
Do you have any advice? So, thinking about that people idea and how having the right people can be incredibly life changing, but also having the wrong people can be incredibly negative.
The opposite, yeah.
Yeah, have you found any like insight into bringing the right people into your organization?
Yeah, I think, for where we've landed is so we'd brought in people that we'd worked with previously, but we also found is that, working with someone previously in a large corporate, can be very different to startups when you're doing 1,000 things, you're juggling 1,000 balls, and it's quick. So where we've landed really is that we have if we bring a person on, it's got to be someone that is recommended to us or it's got that personal kind of recommendation. And it's not just me interviewing them, it's, my
Mm.
core members as well, just having a chat with them and getting a feel for them because day by day we're working side by side and you've got to build those relationships from the start.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such great advice, getting the rest of the team involved as well. I once, when my previous business had matured a little bit and we had quite a large team, we did those like personality tests, and it
Yeah.
had like turned out that I basically hired myself, like all these people. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to put a new lens on hiring and what have you. So I think like getting your team involved is actually really,
Yeah.
really good advice.
Yeah. And I think, you've got different temperaments and you've got different levels of experience. So at the end of the day, you just got to get people in that complement that and you know, can help build really great things.
Yeah, I love that. And I think also that idea that, we don't have to do it all ourselves, and that actually
Yes.
building a team is a really positive thing.
I think it is. And I think, you can kind of get a little bit, that can get a little bit of away from you when you're a founder. You try and do everything at once and you're trying to do it all. But at the end of the day, you're not an expert at everything. And you've got to, get the right people in and trust them and let them stretch their legs and give that contribution as well.
Yeah, and I do like that we're having this conversation because I also think it's a bit of a woman female thing to like carry it all and
Yes.
to think that they need to be experts in everything and think that
Mm.
they need to be able to juggle all the balls and do everything and do it perfectly. I think that letting jobs go, tasks go, hiring a team can actually be really difficult for some women in
Mm.
business.
Yeah, I think it absolutely can because I think we are wired a little bit like that. It's a little bit that old saying sometimes as well, like it's, work twice as hard.
Mm.
So walking into those rooms and we're talking to, the big customers or things like that, you have to feel like you know everything and you're the expert of everything. But
Mm.
it really is, it's not true. It's having the experts around you and you can't physically be that person either.
No, and I think, the sooner we let go of that, the more we can actually thrive and build scalable and sustainable businesses because we do have to remember that we are that human being that needs a little rest.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think that, one thing about running your own business, it really teaches you a lot about your own skill set and your own, personal development.
Mm.
These are all journeys that you need to go on. You need to not be a perfectionist. You need to trust your people. You need to be the biggest cheerleader for yourself. Like yeah, it's a journey, isn't it, really?
Oh my God, I could not agree with you more. I saw that someone said, yeah, business is the biggest personal development journey you will ever go on. It's like, oh, yes, it really is. Whether you want it or not, whether you're ready for it or not.
It's there and it's real and raw.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it just really holds a mirror up to you, doesn't it, sometimes?
It does. It really, really does. but it's interesting, and then you kind of got the other side of it where, when you're building, you are the personal brand of the company as well. Like your personal brand is the company as well.
Yeah.
You are on this big learning journey at the same time as you're representing your company. It's
Totally. And I
it's an
think that
immense.
it's so confronting as well, isn't it? I think
Mm,
having to be the face of the business these days as well, especially going from employee to business owner, where
mm,
you could, I guess, I mean, obviously as an employee, you show up for your customers and your team and what have you, but you're not out there like representing the company. And
I know.
it's can be quite confronting that doing that.
It is. It really is. And I think I've had to go through a little bit of a journey as well, and my family as well, talking about why we started Harmony Health. And
Mm,
there's been so many times I've had to ring up my parents, going, "Are you okay to say this? Are you okay about that? We're still good. I'm still saying
yeah.
that." And yeah, it's quite a thing to be, to let people see you.
Yeah, it's so interesting we're having this conversation. I always find that I have conversations with people on the podcast, like right in the moment that I like need to hear it or talk about it. And it's so funny this year I've started to share. So obviously Spark is for women in business. We're talking about
Yeah.
business more holistically, but I'm starting to share more of my journey in my previous businesses. And I was walking around the park today and I was thinking about this one particular story, just a bit of a horror
Mm,
story. And I did have that thought. I'm like, I don't know how
mm,
honest I can be when it affects other people and other people's reputations. And I'm sure you can, anonymize
mm.
stories, but
Yeah.
it does actually impact the people around us as well, doesn't it?
It does. It's your family, it's your husband, it's your children, it is everybody. So I've had
Mm,
to, I guess, put guardrails in, like with this story. So
yeah.
when I'm doing pitch decks or like talks or things like that, the photo that I show of my parents is not my parents. It's kind of
Oh,
that
cool.
that guardrail to protect
Yeah.
that who they are is private, but their story, they're okay with me sharing that because it helps other families as well.
Wow. Yeah. And this is it, isn't it? Like, no one talks about navigating these types of things. You
No.
hear about, here's how to create a reel. You don't like talk about this emotional stuff, this mindset stuff, which is just an absolute
Mm.
minefield in business.
Isn't it? Absolutely. And the level of how much you share of yourself as well. Like, you know,
Mm.
no one wants like a really big downer story.
Yeah.
Um, so you've kind of got to, it's all a balance, isn't it? And trying to find the right, mix for the audience that you're speaking to as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that it was just even figuring out what's going to resonate. Sometimes you are telling
Yeah.
different versions of the same story, heightened and less, and trying to figure out, okay, where is this kind of
Exactly.
sweet spot of people get it, but I
Yeah.
haven't like gone on a tangent.
Absolutely. It's so different. And like even just, pitch decks, for example, whoever you're sending your pitch deck to, it's got your journey in it or your why in it. Um,
Mm.
it's different versions of it. So sometimes it's, one slide, sometimes it's a couple of slides, really just to delve into the detail. It changes. Try and read your audience.
Oh, exactly. So speaking of pitch decks, are you currently raising capital or have you raised capital?
So we're kind of preparing to do a pre-seed raise. So
Amazing.
do all the pitch decks, having the conversation, and really starting to explore that world.
How are you finding it?
You know what? It's challenging. I'm not going to lie, and I think you would probably have a lot more insights than I would on this one. But you get a lot of, thank you, but we're not, investing right now, or um, you get no answers, or you're meeting, and then come back to us when you've got more traction. It's about traction. So there's a lot of that at the moment, but I read and I hear that it's very, very normal. And I
Yeah.
keep thinking of the story of Canva with Melanie Perkins. She spoke to 100 and they said no, but I think it just takes one at the end of the day, doesn't it? So,
Exactly. And that's yeah, and look, that was exactly my experience as well. I learnt that capital raising was a sales process. So very much reach out to lots of people. Some of them
mm,
are interested and go further, and then it's like, yeah, one person that finally says yes at
yeah,
the end. Um,
absolutely.
but to your point, the thing I found hard was, so I've been a salesperson for 20 years,
Mm,
so totally get it. Know the process, listen to
mm,
objections, figure out the thing to say, convert better. What always blew my mind about capital raising was that the objections weren't, they were almost emotional because
mm.
it's people's money. They're not buying a product or service. They're really investing in you as a human or this idea.
Yeah,
And so the answers that they gave were so varied. Yeah, like, oh, not for me right now. Come back when there's more traction. I had so many people that were like, if you just added this slide or this slide, and I'm like, if
yeah. It's all
adding a
different too.
slide is not going to convince you.
No.
Um, but until you go through that, you just have no idea, and you're, trying to
No.
wade through all this feedback and kind of go, who is
Yeah,
real and who is right. But I think you're
yeah.
spot on. The one thing
Mm,
I figured out was it was just persistence. And you're right. You speak
yes.
to enough people, and there will be someone who's had the same experience or, knows someone that's had the experience, and it does just take that one person to believe in it.
It does. And I've heard this, I'd never heard it before in my life, but I heard this saying when talking about capital raising that a lot of investors back the jockey, not the horse.
Mm.
Um, and if they believe in you and you sell your story and they identify with that, then that's what they're investing in. So there's obviously been countless stories about that. So it's something that comes up a
Definitely.
lot. Mm,
Yeah, and I always found that the other thing is yes, but when it's your first round, no one knows you yet, so you're building this relationship from scratch. I
yeah,
found that the follow-on rounds became easier because then I could say, see the thing I told you we were going to do? We did it. And now
we're
this is
here.
the next thing. So you build
Yes.
that trust over time. But in the first round, when no one knows, there is a little trust that you need to build. So yeah, you're right, but it's pretty hard in the beginning.
It is, it is. So we're kind of, like you are trying to find that, well, in pre-seed, you're trying to find that angel investor
Yeah.
and that, wants to come in the journey with you. But at the same time, you're very, very conscious of, traction, 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 sales, 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 and you know, keep growing and getting that evidence so you can go back to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the other thing that someone said to me at the time. You need to remember that like raising capital is a full-time job. So now you have two full-time jobs, running the business and raising capital. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the biggest surprise to me. You'd hear a lot about it takes a CEO 6 months full time to raise capital, and you kind of think, is that
How
right?
on earth are they doing that?
Yes, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
So
remember how
it's
we told you you have to go for a walk and look after yourself as well?
yeah, and remember to eat that
Oh,
at night, and yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, and run your
Oh my
business
God.
still.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a process.
insane. It is. It's insane. Well, good on you. I'm very impressed, obviously. So I think that, yeah, I mean, you've obviously got the passion for it and the drive for it. And yeah, I think it's going to be incredible. I can't wait to get you back on here, like in,
One,
6, 12 months to share an update on where it's at. I just think it's so incredible. Now, I could talk to you all day, but I always love to wrap up these podcasts with one last piece of advice. So,
yeah.
reflecting on your time in business, what would
Mm.
be a piece of advice that you would give to another woman on her business journey?
I think, like, I've thought about this question a lot when we talked about it, and I think that, I mean, really, kind of, it sums up the conversation we've just had as well. Is that you are working big hours, you are, burning the midnight candle. So you need to be able to learn to be able to be your biggest cheerleader. And
Mm,
when those times where, the imposter syndrome kicks in or a bit of self doubt or what am I doing? Is this right? You've got to be able to be a cheerleader and go, yes, this is the reason I got into it. I'm helping focus on the positive thing. I think that's the best piece of advice I would give.
I love that so much. And again, I'm stealing it and I'm going to be my own biggest cheerleader today.
All of
So,
that.
so thank you so much, Lisa, for being here and sharing your journey with us. And as I said, I cannot wait to get round two happening to hear how it's all gone. Really appreciate you and your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to chat.
That wraps another episode of Spark TV. Shout out to Spark TV sponsor IP Australia for their amazing support of the Spark podcast and women in business. And if no one tells you today, you've got this.